Let me introduce you to the Zapier 2.8.0 update for the PhoneBurner app. We've got 4 updates that are part of this specific version of the PhoneBurner app, and I want to talk to you a little bit about each of the specific updates to help you understand why they're there, when you might want to use them or take advantage of them. So here you can see on the screen, I've got a Zap that I created to test this version of the app, and I'm using all 4 of the specific updates in here, obviously, so I could test it. So the first thing I want to point out is we added a new trigger to the Zapier update. This trigger will allow you to get all of your dial session data as you're making calls. However, it's not just your dial session data. If you are a team admin, this trigger will get all of the dial session data for your team as they're making calls. Now keep in mind, this is not a retroactive dial session. This is to help you get real-time dial session information as your team is making calls. Of course, this has to be active for the dial session data to be fetched. So what does that mean? What does all that really entail, right? Let me dig into this a little bit deeper. One of the things our customers have used over the years to get real-time call or dial session data out of PhoneBurner is a feature called webhooks. This is a feature that I would highly recommend that you take advantage of because it's going to be in real time. There's no polling involved in it. It just happens. PhoneBurner sends it at the time that it happens. And there's a couple places that you can add webhooks. You can go to the integration section of each individual account, and you can go to the webhook spot here, and you can go down to call end, and you can enter a webhook URL. And PhoneBurner on disposition will send the contact and call details to that webhook URL so that that information can be captured, processed, and sent on to any other particular system and update any other system. You can also add webhooks to dial session disposition. So only in certain dispositions you might want to trigger specific webhooks. And so you can go into a disposition and you can add a webhook URL, and when that disposition is clicked, PhoneBurner will send the contact and call details to that webhook URL, allowing you to capture that information and then pass it along to some other system, right? So this has been around for a long time and something that I would still recommend that most of you take advantage of. However, there are some customers in some situations where the webhook option is not going to work for you. I'm talking about people who are integrated with Salesforce or Zoho, or you've got some other feature or function in your system that is already taking advantage of the webhook feature in PhoneBurner, and you still want to get the dial session information out of PhoneBurner. That's when you can take advantage of the all dial session data trigger from the PhoneBurner app. This will pull all of the dial session information, and I'm going to show you in a team account here. So I'm going to go over here to reports. Let's go to dial sessions and let's choose a date range that has some dial sessions. So this is a team, right? If as an individual, then all of my dial sessions would happen in my account. But if I'm a team admin, then I'm not the only one making phone calls. And so you're going to have dial sessions happening throughout your team. This specific update will capture all of the dial session information in real time as it's happening. Well, as close to real time as possible, right? Because as we all know, with certain triggers in Zapier, when they're not webhooks, Zapier has to pull the system, and so that's going to depend on your account level. So as you can see here, my account level allows me to pull PhoneBurner every 2 minutes. Some of you may be 5 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on, again, your account level. But in my particular case, every 2 minutes, Zapier is going to essentially knock on PhoneBurner's door and say, hey, since the last time I checked 2 minutes ago, has there been any new dial session activity? Has anybody on the team made a phone call? Oh, yes? If so, I need that information. It's going to capture the person who made the phone call. In fact, let me jump into the history on one of these. Let's go to Zap Runs. Looks like we had one that stopped. But let's go in here and you can see it's going to ask PhoneBurner, hey, did anything happen? And PhoneBurner is going to reply, yes, we had this, we had this, we had this. And of course, Zapier is going to process each one individually. In this particular case, this user made this phone call, that's the call ID, to this phone number, that's one of our sample contact phone numbers. And then it's also going to include the start time and the end time so that you can have that information to post it wherever you need to post it if you're going to be logging a call in an external system. Was that call connected? Was it a voicemail? What was the outcome of that call? Were there any notes on that call? All of the specific details about that contact will be included in this particular payload that PhoneBurner sends to Zapier. Like, who was called? Are there any custom fields related to that contact? All of the notes related to that contact. So you can then take all of that information and pass it on to another system. And as you can see here, in my particular example, I'm just updating a Google Sheet. I'm just logging that information in a Google Sheet and moving on. Again, I'm just testing, so that's all I need to do. So that is one of the updates in the newest version of the PhoneBurner app, is to get all dial session data. Again, it's not retroactive dial session data. It's from the time you turn the Zap on, Zapier is going to start monitoring you and your team's dial session activity and start extracting that information from PhoneBurner so that it can get logged in another system. Now, what else is part of this specific update? If we go down in here, you can see I've got another one that is a contact search by email. What does this mean? This allows you to start to search for contacts in PhoneBurner based off of their email address. So if you're creating a Zap that's going to post data to PhoneBurner, but those contacts may already exist in PhoneBurner, you can actually search to see if you can find that contact by email. But not only email, you can also search by phone number. So you'll be able to search by email or phone number. This is a new action that's part of the PhoneBurner app in Zapier. It's a search step that allows you to search by email or phone number. Now, some of you may have contacts that have the same email address or the same phone number. The way the system is going to work, or the way this specific step is going to work, is it's going to take the first contact that it finds with a matching email or phone, depending on what you're searching by. So if you have multiple contacts that meet that criteria, that have that email or that phone number, this still might not be a perfect solution for you, because again, PhoneBurner is going to return a list of every contact that has a matching email or phone, depending on what you're searching for. And in this particular case, I'm having Zapier run with the first contact that is returned. Now the next option, the next update, is a very simple, basic addition, and that is the option to get a contact based off of a PhoneBurner contact ID. There are some situations where you're storing the PhoneBurner contact ID in your system. You might have leads, new leads that are posting to PhoneBurner as they're coming in and to your CRM. And so when you store that contact in your CRM, you may want to store the contact ID, the PhoneBurner contact ID, on that record in your CRM. And then from time to time, you may need to ask PhoneBurner, hey, what is the status of this contact on the PhoneBurner system, right? You have this contact in your CRM, and maybe once a month you go in and say, hey, PhoneBurner, I need to know what the status is of this specific contact in PhoneBurner. And if you have that PhoneBurner contact ID, then you'll be able to search for that contact or get that specific contact from the PhoneBurner system, and PhoneBurner will return the current status of that record. Has the name changed? What folder is it in? What are the notes on that record? So that you can update that record in your CRM. Now, of course, this is a step that not everybody is going to need to use very often, but it really just depends on how you're managing your data. Again, if you have an external database that you're storing all of this information in, and you're sending some of those contacts over to PhoneBurner to be called, and you're sending some of those contacts over to some other system to be worked on in some other way, right? You may need to go and ask those systems, in this particular case, the PhoneBurner system, what is the current status of this specific record that I sent over to your system? And then PhoneBurner will return that contact record so that you can then update that record on your system. So anyway, that is a quick little overview of all of the updates that are available in the newest version of the PhoneBurner app in Zapier. This will allow you to, again, create zaps with the dial session as the trigger, so that as you and your team are making calls, you'll be able to get all that call information in as close to real time as possible from PhoneBurner, so that you can start updating your external systems, potentially logging calls in those external systems. And again, a reminder, the ability to search for contacts by email or phone. This is one action step that allows you to choose whether or not you're going to search by email or phone. As you can see here, I created 2 separate action steps in my Zap just so that I could test each one independently. But when you're creating a Zap, there's one action step, it's a search step, and you get to choose whether or not you want to search by email and or phone. And then finally, the ability to get a specific contact based off of the contact ID, the PhoneBurner contact ID, so that you can pull the information out of PhoneBurner and update that contact record in an external system. So thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope this helps you and your organization get more done in less time using the power of PhoneBurner. Thanks again, and happy dialing.